Alright friends, welcome back to another tier list video where we go over a couple of characters, we look at their traits, show you how any of their abilities work, and then we throw them in the almighty JD Funkoverse tier list. We're doing this one live on my Twitch, so you can be here too. You can be talking in chat, it'll pop up on screen, and you can be a part of the video telling me that I'm totally wrong or off about your favorite characters. So let's take a look at our 4 subjects today. Ooh, the 4 lucky golden girls. We have Blanche. We have Dorothy. We got Sophia. And we have Rose. So all 4 of these characters are split into 2 packs. I'm not sure which 2 come in which 2 packs, but if you were to go and buy these, they come in 2 packs with their own maps and their own attachments. They're both pretty cheap now, I would say, on eBay. You could probably find them anywhere from $15 to $25 for each pack. You might be able to find Best Buy had a good deal on them last time I was looking. So if you are looking to pick these up, they're not terribly expensive at the moment. Let's take a look at our first character and see what Blanche does. Blanche is gray-red. She's 2 defense. And her nice trait here, devastatingly beautiful. While Blanche is standing, adjacent rivals roll 1 fewer dice when challenging. So that's pretty big in like a territory or just any fight scenario where you can keep Blanche close to where the action is, because 1 fewer dice is, you only get to roll 1 dice on a basic challenge. That's huge. It's not as good as like some other traits, like we'll get to Dorothy. I think Dorothy's trait's a little better, but the 1 dice is pretty strong. That's like an A or a B tier type trait. 1 dice is huge in this game. Rose's first ability, Flirt, is a 2 gray. So if you take your 2, you put it, or take your gray and put it on the 2. You get a challenge 2, and then take 1 unspent ability token from your opponent and place it on the 2 of their cooldown track. So Flirt is probably her most utility-wise best move, I would say. Southern Hospitality is okay, but Flirt is really good because you get to take an unspent ability token from your opponent. Say your opponent was on this side over here, and they think that they have a yellow and a red for Agritsuko. You can just, if you're next to Agritsuko and you flirt, you don't have to win the challenge, you just take the token, which is, it's pretty big. Stealing tokens from your opponent can really put people in a bind. I know when I play against Blanche, that's the most annoying thing about her, is when she steals tokens from me. Second ability here, Southern Hospitality. Move each rival Blanche can see up to 2 squares towards Blanche. So if you're playing like a territory game and here's the territory, Blanche could be here, and you could use Southern Hospitality to move your opponent out of the area 1, because it's hard on this map. In order to see here, to move 2 squares, I think you might have to be here. So you can move 1 square towards, 1 square towards. But I mostly use this move, like, if I was playing this map, I would put Blanche here, move Agritsuko the 1, and then move around Agritsuko into the territory. And hopefully Agritsuko's exhausted, or there's some sort of situation where she can't get in there. I mean, it's pretty good to be able to move people. But what kind of stinks about it is you have to be able to see them. I mean, in like a flag, in like a flag scenario, this map doesn't have flags, but say this was the flag and Agritsuko was here. You know, it's tough to get a good like line of sight on somebody to move them towards. You know, to get them away from the flag. Like if, see, if you were here and she was here, you couldn't see her to move her the 1 towards. It's kind of tough to put yourself in an angle to be able to see and to move 2 spaces towards. It's kind of a lot of things to do, but if you're playing on a more open type map, Blanche can be very good. she gets that more line of sight. So on a map like this, or maybe even the Golden Girl's house, where it's kind of only open in the middle, and it's kind of like this, where there's rooms, she's not going to be too amazing. But on open maps, we'll say Funko Factory, or even the Croquet map, it's where it's all open and she can see anything, then that moves a lot better. Blanche's second best move, I would say, is her red 2 here. It's called High Boys. Move up to 4 squares towards a rival Blanche can see. So this is like the same thing. If you can see a rival, you can move up to 4 squares towards them. I mean, it doesn't say you have to land next to them. So even if Agritsuko was all the way across, you can still move the 4 towards them, because you don't have to land adjacent. So 4 squares is really good, and it's only 2 red. Like, Catwoman gets the cartwheel, which is a little bit more expensive, and you don't have to see anybody, but a cartwheel is just a better move. Like I said with the other one, with the ability to see is kind of a bind on the High Boys and the Southern Hospitality. It kind of makes her tough to use on smaller maps or more boxed up maps. I do like her though. If you can get her on an open map where there's territories or something, and really use her trait and her ability to move people, and if that matters, like on a flag or a territories game, she's not bad. She's not terrible. Let's look at our second Golden Girl here. Also a gray-red. Dorothy Zbornak? Is the Z silent? I'm not sure how to say that. But let's look at her trait first. Intimidating. While Dorothy is standing, rivals adjacent to her may not challenge her allies. That's better than devastatingly beautiful altogether. Say you're playing like a leaders match, and Agritsuko's coming, and Blanche is your leader. Agritsuko uses in your face to go 1, 2, 3 towards a target. She cannot attack this target because she lands adjacent to Dorothy. She has to fight Dorothy. As long as Dorothy's standing and adjacent to the rival that's attacking, then they have to attack Dorothy. Say we come this way though and attack. We can attack Blanche because it's the rival who has to be adjacent to Dorothy in order for the trait to work. But that's a pretty good trait. Blocking people from attacking your leader in a game, or maybe there's like a flag here or something, and you've got your 2 people next to the flag. Oops. And then Agritsuko has to come in. She has to stand in this square here in order to fight Blanche, because if she stands in this square, she has to fight Dorothy. So taking, I would say aggro, to take a World of Warcraft term. Taking aggro is pretty big in some situations, especially when you're trying to keep your leader alive late game. Somebody thinks they can just walk up and kill your leader, but you put Dorothy adjacent and then have to fight Dorothy in order to fight your leader. It's pretty cool. Her first ability is Snappy Banner. Challenge 2, give Dorothy the Snappy card. And the Snappy card is... Whoa, let's go find the Snappy card. Where's the Snappy card? We're breaking the game trying to find Snappy. There it is. Snappy. This character has 1 defense. Discard this card when one of the character's allies is challenged. It's pretty cool. So she gets +1 defense, and she only loses the +1 defense when one of her allies is challenged. So even if she gets challenged, she keeps that +1 defense seemingly until one of her allies is challenged. I think she might even take it to the cooldown track. It doesn't say that she loses it when knocked out either. So +1 defense until an ally is challenged. That's pretty big. And it's only 2 gray. I mean, that's a pretty big bonus, knocking her up to 3 defense, where Batman's trait is you have to be standing next to 2... You have to be in a bad situation, standing next to 2 rivals in order to get that. So I think I would pay the 2 easily to get the +1 defense. Dorothy's second ability, Independent, is a 2 gray. Choose an ally adjacent to Dorothy and move up to 4 squares away from them. So you have to be adjacent to an ally. you have to pay the 2 gray. And then you can move 1, 2, 3, 4 away from them. So technically, you couldn't go... What? You couldn't go this way. Because that's not away. See, you're 1 space away. Now you're 1 space away. So in order to be away from Blanche here, we'd have to go here or here with our first move. And then pretty much anywhere down the hall is away, I would think. 1, 2. You couldn't go here, so it always has to be away. So 1, 2. That gets me 2 spaces. Right there would get me 2 spaces as well. Pretty sure, right? Yeah. So that would be an illegal move. It always has to be away. So in order to get into... How would you get in this room? You couldn't get into this room because it's still 1 square away. So it's kind of finicky on how you use the spacing for the term away. But as long as the square is one more, like 1, 2, you know how to add. You always know how to add. You add 1 square, and as long as it's more, then that's a legal move. I mean, it's good at the start of the game. I like using independent at the start of the game, kind of get out of my base. I'll use Dorothy first, get her out of the base, take a point with the 4 squares. And then maybe try to, you know, snappy banner, set her up for a more like tanky situation later, mid-late game. So early game I'm using snappy, or early game I'm using independent to move out. Then I'm snappy banner, and then I'm going to use our third ability in combination with snappy banner. We're going to use strong and sassy. Each rival Dorothy can see within 2 squares is pulled 1, and then you do that AoE challenge 2 against each adjacent rival. So if Dorothy's here, and then we've got some rivals out here, she gets to pull them out of the... Potentially, if this was the territory, we'd pull a character out of the territory and somebody here, and then we get the challenge 2 to both of them. So a pull, which is pretty good, and we get the AoE challenge 2, which is... I mean, it's challenge 2 is a challenge 2. It gives you that 50-50 shot in order to kind of sneak something out, but being able to move people and being able to challenge in the same ability, only taking 1 action, is huge. I think Dorothy is underplayed. I like her a lot, to be honest. Now, even reading her card right now, I feel like I underplay Dorothy or undersell her just a little bit. I feel like she might even be a little better than Blanche. Man, that's, if I were to think about it right now, that's a tough one. I feel like her movement is kind of... The only thing I kind of don't like about her is that you have to be able to... being able to see is kind of... It's kind of blah. Because you can... Your opponent, if he knows or they know that you're trying to pull some shenanigans, then they'll block their characters in. They'll block them in here. Instead of leaving them out where she can see, they'll just block off your traits and abilities altogether. Alright, let's look at our third character here, Sophia Petrillo. She is gray-yellow. Her trait is Picture It. If Sophia is standing at the start of her turn, a standing ally she can see within 4 squares may do a move 1. So instead of like Batgirl, who gets like the immediate move 1 for herself, or... I'm not sure. Alice in Wonderland, if you place the rabbit with her trait, you get to move 1 towards the rabbit. Sophia lets a standing ally move 1, as long as they're within 4 squares and she can see them. And it's at the start of her turn, so if she's knocked over at the start, you can't do it. And if you use your turn to rally, you can't do it because it is at the start of her turn. It's okay. I mean, if you... I'm trying to think of a way that really... This is more of an early game technique, I would think. Because putting a 1 defense Sophia here close to the flag in order to get maybe a standing rival from the outside of the room to get that one step in towards like a flag or something. You don't really want her in the flag, in the territory, unless you're really like you're trying to play late game and you're just trying to get those last 2 points to win. You're really not trying to put her in too much danger with that one defense. So the move 1 is kind of, it's okay, but I don't see how often you're going to be using it with her in the back. Cutting Remark is her first ability. It's a 2 gray. Range 3, challenge 2. Swap an ability token on your cooldown track with one from your ability token pool. So it's kind of like Morty's. Morty Smith has the swap one ability token in your pool with one on your track. But this one comes with a range 3 challenge 2, which is better. I do appreciate giving Morty's ability a little buff here for the 1 defense. Sophia's second ability is Curse. Move 2, give a rival Sophia can see a curse status card. So you move 2 and you hand out this status card. The next time a character will roll a dice, they only roll 1. So you can kind of make her... You kind of debuff people. So obviously you curse people. It's like in World of Warcraft where you put the debuffs where it's like less attack or less defense. Giving somebody this card right here, and then with the move 2, you can kind of say this was the situation. We curse somebody, we move 2, and we give the card. And then she only gets 1 defense. She only gets to roll 1 dice, so you get to roll 2 with a basic, and then they would get to roll 1. Do they win? Ooh, and they would lose with the 1 dice. So you kind of want to you want to follow up. You want to be able to close the gap with the move 2 in order to attack after. Because you don't want her to move up and just, 50-50 basic challenge to basic challenge. It's kind of... You're not putting yourself in a spot. Let's see if we win the 1 dice war. Yes, they would have won the 1 dice war, and now you're in big trouble because her 1. It's an easy pickings for basic challenges all day. So you really want to combo it where you move up, curse them, and then they have to use the dice on defense instead of on offense. Her third, and I think this is Sophia's, her cursing to call a hit. Oh yeah, for sure. Her third ability here. Call in a hit. A standing ally Sophia can see within 3 squares does a challenge 4 against a rival adjacent to them. Oof. So you've got an ally and a rival. As long as Sophia is within 3 squares, 1, 2, 3 of her ally. We'll recolor this so it looks funny. Okay, so this is our rival right here. Dorothy would get to do a challenge 4, which is our big 4 dice. 4 is a huge challenge in this game. Look at that, double crit hit. That's unblockable for our Blanche if this was in game. So challenge 4s can be really nasty. I'm pretty sure if you wanted to, you could combo, like Poop was saying in chat, you could curse to move 2. And then you can give the card to say Blanche, she's our rival 4 squares away. So then we call in a hit afterward. So it's pretty much a challenge 4 against a 1 defense character at this point because you've cursed them and now you've given out the call in a hit. So it's let's find out. Can I win against 4 dice to 1 dice? No, it's impossible. So after the curse, winning a challenge even with 2 bad dice here, it's still super hard. It'd be impossible in this situation. So cursing into calling in a hit is definitely really good. That's definitely really good. Let's look at our 4th golden girl. Oh, curse the shark. Ooh, that's a good call. So you curse the shark and they would only get to roll 1 dice instead of the 4. You curse the shark and call in a hit. Oh man. So Sophia is a pretty good shark counter. Chat approved. Chat approved shark counter. Alright, let's look at our fourth, and I would say our best assist character in the game. She's just so good. Her trait, our girl Rose, her trait is if Rose is standing after a challenge against her is resolved, Rose may do a basic challenge. So anytime Rose is challenged and the person challenging you loses, anytime she defends a challenge, she gets the basic challenge right back. So this doesn't necessarily mean you have to basic challenge the target that you are that challenged you. In some situations, say Sophia moved up and challenges you and loses, you could use that basic challenge to go after Dorothy because maybe she's not exhausted. Maybe Sophia exhausted herself and you'd rather attack Dorothy to have her use her turn to rally. So you don't necessarily have to attack the target that attacked you, but you definitely get a basic challenge back. Let's take a look at her first ability. Life Isn't Fair, a challenge 4, and if you win, you get to move the target 1 square. That's pretty bonkers. Pretty bonkers. A challenge 4, and you get to move somebody for 3. I feel like that's a little underpaid for. Her second ability, Story Time. Place an ally Rose can see in a square adjacent to Rose. And that has no range on it, boys and girls. Friends and Funkoverse fans. No range. You just have to be able to see. That it's insane. That this move right here is insane. You can bring her all the way over here. How crazy is that? You could be here, and your ally could be over here, and you can bring them all the way over here. How crazy? It's the ability to move somebody you can see any number of squares is pretty ridiculous. If not broken, I would have to say. Let's go with our third ability. I'm running through a tier list real quick, B-Man. We're gonna do a quick tier list, and then we'll play your match with Captain Claudio. We're gonna go with our third ability here. Thank you for being a friend. Give the friendship status to an ally within 3 squares that Rose can see. Now, this status card is I would say the best in the game. After a challenge against this character is resolved, Rose may do a basic action. Discard this status if this character or Rose is knocked out. So, at the beginning of the game, you're gonna wanna get friendly with an ally. We'll change this to white just so it makes sense. So, these two are allies. You spend the 2 yellow to give the friendship card to Sophia. And then whenever Sophia is challenged, say Dorothy challenges Sophia, Rose gets to do a basic action. A move. If she was over here, she could fight Blanche. And if Blanche fought Sophia and knocked her over, Rose gets to fight Blanche. It's any basic action. So if Rose is right here and Blanche fights Sophia and wins, Rose can just help her right back up. So technically making this basic challenge moot, or pretty much worthless, because Rose with the friendship card can just stand her back up. So the only way to get rid of it, discard this status when if this character or Rose is knocked out. So if Sophia were to lose, if I had Rose over here, she gets attacked, I move with the friendship card, and then Dorothy knocks Rose out, or if Dorothy knocks Sophia out, I would lose the card and I wouldn't get to help her up before she goes to the cooldown track, and I would lose the card, meaning I would not get to do that basic action before she gets knocked out. So there's no action here because you lose the card. But it's still, the friendship card is amazing. You go back to some of my my replays, and there's Rose Iron Man games where Iron Man can attack himself at the end, and he doesn't knock himself down because Rose is right there to pick him up. Rose is amazing in the in like a number 2 spot. If you have like a banger like Iron Man or Captain America, or you want to play Wonder Woman maybe as a leader, Rose, the ability to move people and the ability to help them up if she's adjacent with the friendship card just makes her a tough out for sure. And anytime you go after her, anytime you lose a challenge, she gets a challenge back. It's just a nightmare to try to take her out in order to take the setup that your opponent is trying to do. Like if they have Rose Iron Man, you have to go after Rose first, or else she'll just help Iron Man up. So you go after Rose, and then you got to fight her to knock her down in order to fight Iron Man, and it just ends up taking a lot of just turns and abilities to knock Rose and her friendly friend out. Let's take a look at the tier list real quick, and we'll throw these friends in there, and then we can get rolling. Rose. Oh man, it's so tough not to put Rose in S class. I think I'm gonna put Rose in S. I think Rose is the best support in the game. I think right behind her is Hagrid somewhere, but we'll get to Hagrid sooner or later. I think Dorothy. Dorothy with snappy, independent, and strong and sassy. I think she's a solid B. I don't know if I take her. Oh man, I think I take her above Thanos, but I think I play Kool-Aid Man more. I like Kool-Aid Man's AoE and attack. He kind of lacks movement, but you can get around that, where she has to be able to see to use movement, and that's just her abilities. So her abilities don't do too much attack, it does movement, but if you can't use the movement, then she's kind of worthless. Who do we got here? We've got Blanche with Flirt, Southern Hospitality, and High Boys. Oof. Flirt, Southern Hospitality, and High Boys. I think I take her. For me personally, it's tough. I think I take Thanos and Daenerys above her. Alright, let's move her up a little bit. Just because she has movement, she can move characters. So let's put her here. Thanos can move characters as well, but it's still, he's too slow. I feel like she might be a little bit faster. Yeah, because just based on her movement, I'm going to put her above Thanos. And I love Thanos, but if you can space yourself out right, use High Boys, and then flirt and take tokens, I think you can put people in a tough spot. Is she better than Dorothy? Blanche is one of the best traits in the game too, you think? Yeah, the one less dice. Do you think she's better than Kool-Aid Man, though? Or do you think she's better than the Cheetah? I think it's tough right here. I think for right now, we're going to start right there. Everything is open to discussion later on. Let's look at our last character here. Who do we got left? Oh, Sophia. How could we forget? Sophia. Cutting Remark, the Curse, the Call, and the Hit. She's 1 defense, though. And her trait is kind of meh. But cursing and calling in a hit. You could literally... you could do some nasty things with Sophia. Is she better than Thanos, though? Kool-Aid Man, a solid C tier for me. I must have missed that one. You don't think Kool-Aid Man's that good, huh? What do you think about Sophia? Sophia better than Thanos? Is Sophia better than Daenerys? She's kind of like a sniper with 1 defense. It's like a different version of Dolores. I'm thinking... Okay, okay, so... Let's put Sophia here. Let's put Kool-Aid Man here. He's better than Robin and Jon Snow. How's that? Oh, this one's all yours? Well, I hear ya. I'm with you on the chat. We're going to take a solid look real quick. I think all three of these are good here. I think I take Joker. I think I take Harley Quinn and Batgirl above these here. Kool-Aid Man's map dependent, but he's got a move 1, challenge 3, and he's got the AoE splash, which make him super strong. Even disregarding his trait that he might not be able to use on every map, the move 1, challenge 3, and the AoE splash, and being able to move 3 to an ally. He's got movement, he's got a move 1, challenge 3, and he's got AoE. I mean, even if you can't use the Robo tokens in the trait, I still think he's strong. I think he's better. He's got more movement. He's got more movement than Thanos. And he's got better back-to-back attacks than Daenerys. She's got a good curse and calling a hit, but she can't... Oh, I love Kool-Aid Man. We're putting him back up. Maybe better than Sophia, because she can only curse and call on a hit. She can only potentially get one attack in. Dorothy has movement, and she can move people. Blanche the same way. She can move 4 spaces and move people. I think this is what we're going to call it on this one. I'm liking the way that looks for me. You may have your own opinions, and everything is open to change later, but I hope you guys enjoyed that look at the Golden Girls. I hope you add them to your set. They're super fun. Rose is a definite must-buy for me. Definite must-buy. So, lucky rolling.